And I think that's what the really cool thing about case studies is too, because at the end of the day, case studies are a story. They're a story about how you helped your client overcome a problem and be successful. And, stories are just one of those things that really connect with people's hearts and make them feel and make them believe. And if you can do that and marry that storytelling with really good strategy and facts and data, that's like a powerhouse piece of content, when you combine emotion and logic.
Hey, my feel good friends. Oh man, I'm so excited to share this week's interview with you because I am chatting with the lovely Melissa all about how we can tell your customers stories and create case studies for your brand in a way that actually converts for your business. Now, you will hear me geek out in this episode and just be like, oh my gosh, I need to hire you, Melissa, because I love everything she is saying. We need to start thinking about our customer testimonials as more than testimonials, as stories, because stories are truly going to help our ideal potential customers put themselves in the shoes of our current amazing customers. And honestly, it just helps you to boost your brand and your business and see the most success possible. Can you tell I'm geeking out about this already? So if at any point during this episode, you know that we are dropping some knowledge, you feel like the content is valuable, I would absolutely love for you to share this episode with a friend who you think would benefit from it as well, or go ahead and share it to your Instagram stories. I would love to hear from you. Make sure that you tag me at Feel Good Social and Melissa at Melissa Harstine Creative, because we want to see it, we want to reshare it, and we want to spread the love right back to you, my friend. Are you ready for this? Let's dive in. Hey, friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Have you been struggling to keep everything in your business organized? If so, that was me, my friend, and I feel your pain. When I started my business, I was investing in multiple softwares. I had to-do lists all over the place, and I really struggled to keep myself and my projects on task. And then I found HoneyBook. Literally, you can do all of the things with HoneyBook. It's what I use to organize my projects and to send out all of the proposals, contracts, invoices, all of the things. And it's just been such a lifesaver for me. So if you are feeling the pain of all of that, if you've been looking for a one-stop software that will help you do all of the back-end things for your business, I would love for you to check out HoneyBook. And guess what? I've been using it long enough that HoneyBook actually has sent me a discount code to share with you. If you go to feelgoodsocial.com/honeybook, then you can find out more about this amazing software that I use every day in my business. And you can grab 50% off your first year. You better bet that that's how I started using HoneyBook. And so I'm so excited to share this discount with you. Just head to feelgoodsocial.com/honeybook. That's where you can sign up for your free trial of the software to see if it's right for you and grab 50% off your first year if you decide to sign up. How awesome is that? Just head to feelgoodsocial.com/honeybook for all the nerdy deets. All right, let's dive into the episode. Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us, lady. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Well, I did already introduce you a little bit in the intro, but I would love to hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you serve?
Yeah, I am a customer-centric copywriter. So I really focus on customer interviews and research, and I work primarily with heart-centered brands.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. How did you get started as a copywriter? I always like to hear people's origin stories.
Yeah, so my career started actually as a journalist. I started working at a little newspaper for senior citizens after I graduated college. And it was so funny because I was like 21, 22, and I was writing for these people who were like my grandparents' age, like 40, 50, 60 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny whenever I would show up at their houses and, to interview them. And they're just like, kid, how do you write for us old people? You're so young. And I just, they would give me this funny look, but I got used to telling them, I ask a lot of good questions. I listen really carefully. I do a lot of research, and I really focus on like empathy and trying to understand what your life is like. And so I'm so thankful that I had that career and that opportunity to like lay the foundation for what I do now as a customer-centric copywriter. Because it's all about like understanding people and focusing on kind of their life and their perspective and what's important to them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's such an interesting start too. And so such a great like testament to, your abilities as a copywriter to really get into someone else's head. Can you talk to us a little bit just about the research process maybe? Because that's something that is so, so important, but I think a lot of us don't really like to do very much.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people just end up guessing because they don't know the strategy of how to figure out what their customers are thinking or feeling or whatever. And so I think some really great tools that people can use are, number one, doing interviews and just talking directly with people. And especially if, you're recording the interview on something like Zoom or using like an AI transcription app like Otter, then you can go back and listen to those interviews later and find, places where people are talking about their pain points or their struggles. And when you can use those exact words and weave them into your social media posts or your website copy or whatever, when you can mirror your customer's language back to them, that's when you have those really great connections and people are like, oh my gosh, holy guacamole. Like, did you read my journal? Like, you're in my head. You get me. How do you do this? And it all goes back to just research and reflecting those words back.
Yeah, I love that. So, oh man, I feel like we're going to get into this a little bit, but maybe we should talk about how to, interview people and what to pay attention to, what kind of questions to ask when it comes to doing that research.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is going deeper than just the what questions, right? And asking people, so why does that matter to you? How did that make you feel? Can you give me a specific example of a time in your life where this was true? Because I think when you can get below like what people think, like get below what like the metrics and the data and the facts, and really get to the heart of the matter and try to understand what people like believe or think or say, like those inner self stuff. That's, when those interviews become really powerful and give you that really great copy that you can then use in your marketing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that because I feel like a lot of times we exactly try to make that assumption of what our ideal clients believe in, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, all of those things. But there's so many different ways to describe a feeling. And I have to tell you, I am kind of a storytelling nerd as well. I really promote storytelling on social media for your business and your marketing and all that stuff. And I love that you said, ask them for a specific example of like when they were feeling that way or when they were struggling, because exactly that is something that you can then turn around and use in your social media posts. And it really is helpful instead of just trying to come up with your own stories and whatnot.
And I think that's what the really cool thing about case studies is too, because at the end of the day, case studies are a story. They're a story about how you helped your client overcome a problem and be successful. And, stories are just one of those things that really connect with people's hearts and make them feel and make them believe. And if you can do that and like marry that storytelling with really good strategy and facts and data, like that's like a powerhouse piece of content, when you combine emotion and logic.
Yes. Okay. And I love this. This is the perfect segue because you are the case study queen. And I'm so excited to chat with you about this. Can you tell us just a little bit of an overview of what case studies are and then why they're important and how they can help you in your business?
Yeah. So like I said, case studies are a story of how you helped your client reach success. And they have a pretty common structure. They start with a challenge. They start with a problem that your client was facing. It could be something really practical or tangible. It could be something internal as well, like just they were feeling anxious or didn't have enough time. And so after you introduce that challenge, then you move into how you helped them solve that problem and talk about, the process, the outcomes and stuff. And then the end of the case study is really focused on, the results. Like, how has this person's life and business been transformed as a result of your work together? So, like any good story, it kind of follows that narrative arc, that hero's journey, as some people call it. And I think the thing that's so powerful about case studies is they're so relatable because they help your audience imagine what it would be like to work with you, which ultimately makes it easier for people to say yes to working with you.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I love this because I think that whenever I hear the word case study, I kind of think of like a report or something, or like, all the facts and figures and just like, this is how we made it work and whatnot. And so I think I have an issue. I don't know if you're into the Enneagram at all, but I'm an Enneagram 7. And so I love like fun things. And to me, like statistics are just the most boring thing in the world. And so I love people who love statistics because it's like, thank you, you can help me. So I love that you described case study as a story. And exactly, it's so powerful because it's not just a testimonial, which someone can just get lost in people saying the same thing. Oh, of course, she's saying she was great to work with. It's like bringing your potential customers into the story of your current customer or past customer and saying, look, this could be you as well, right?
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, facts and figures and data sometimes get a little bit dry. And I think that's why case studies are so powerful, is because the data is a little bit of it, but it's really like a minor piece of the case study, of the success story, right? It's really about that journey and that transformation. And I think that the best case studies are created from customer interviews, because that allows you to tell the story, not from your own point of view, but from your customer's point of view. So what I do when I create case studies is I weave in the customer's own language, like direct quotes, almost every other paragraph. Or sometimes I only tell the story from the customer's, point of view. Because again, when someone else is saying how good you are at what you do and how much you've changed their life or their business, that like is even more powerful than you just talking about yourself.
Yes. And I love this idea of, because I've actually, okay, girl, now I'm going to have to go schedule some customer interviews because I'm over here. Like I've definitely integrated storytelling of my clients and my students and stuff into my social media posts, but I would so much rather chat with them and get the story from their mouth versus that. So how do you go about, I guess, creating a case study? Like where do you start? How do you bring in the facts and figures and all those things?
Yeah. So when I write a case study, I usually have kind of like a high level executive summary. I mean, that's a fancy way of saying it, but just starting out with kind of like those basic details, like who is this person? What is their job? What kind of a challenge were they having when they hired you? Just kind of a bulleted list of those high level points so that when people are reading it, they can just like scan and get the most important information. And then after that's out of the way, really focusing on the story part of it. And I actually read this really interesting statistic recently from Harvard Business Review, where they said that like 83% of people who start reading a case study will read it like end to end, right? Like the entire thing, which is incredible when you think about like an 800 to 1200 word story that someone's like so drawn in and so invested in it that they want to like read the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now I'm like thinking about like how it can work and all that stuff. So I guess what are some of your favorite, did you already kind of share a few of your favorite questions when it comes to interviewing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that, like I said earlier, it's important to really ask follow-up questions and dig deeper, to really get beyond just the surface level stuff. So ask, how did you feel when you were working with me or working with this person? What kind of a difference did that make in your life? What kind of long-term impact have you seen as a result of this work together? And I think in addition to asking those questions, like really paying attention to emotions when you're listening to how people are responding, because if someone gets really, really excited, or if you can tell like their energy is kind of down and they're feeling like a little bit like anxious or whatever, they're kind of like quiet. Sometimes that means that there's something deeper there that you can kind of follow up on. And so I always encourage people to like just trust their intuition and like follow that breadcrumb trail, because if it's interesting to you, it's probably going to be interesting to your reader as well. And just, be willing to go off script and ask those questions.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Feel into the person's emotion and be aware of it and all of that stuff. That's such a great tip. How do you then like take this case study and transfer it into ways that can really help your business?
Yeah. So I think that there's like at least 7 different places that you can use case studies in your sales and marketing funnel, which is just amazing, right? That they're so multifunctional.
Yeah.
Of course, you can use them on social media. And you can take a quote, a single quote from a case study and turn it into like one of those really cute Instagram testimonial graphics, right? You can also take like the audio from a case study interview and turn it into like an audio graph, which I know is something interesting to you as a podcast host.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah. And you can use that story to tell, on Instagram stories, on a video to kind of like, just share a little piece of it, to read a little piece of that case study. Or you could also, take it and kind of talk about a behind the scenes process, again, told from your customer's perspective from that case study. So I think those are some really cool ways to use it on social media. But probably the most popular way that people use case studies are either on their website or in a proposal. So one of my clients actually started attaching case studies to her proposals this summer, and she's had a 100% acceptance rate since she started attaching case studies to her proposals, which is incredible.
Hell yeah, that is awesome. I love that. So that being said, I love that idea of attaching a case study to your proposals and all of those things, because it really helps to just drive home that action of signing and whatnot. Maybe we should back up a little bit and talk about who should be using case studies in their business. Like, is there anyone that you really think needs to be using it and anyone who might not want to be wasting their time on it or something like that?
I think anyone who really is wanting to prove ROI, case studies are an incredible benefit for them. I was just talking about this with my friend Allie a few weeks ago. She's an email copywriter, and she really focuses on customer research as like, that's what makes her emails so effective. But a lot of times her customers like look at her process and think, why are you spending so much time on research? And she knows the ROI is there. She knows that laying that solid foundation is going to make everything else that she does for them so much more effective. And I think once her customers get those case study or those emails, they realize the power of that customer research.
Are you enjoying this episode so far? If you answered with a big hell yes, I would love to ask you to snap a screenshot and share it to Instagram, so all your biz buddies can hear it too. And don't forget to tag us at feelgoodsocial so we can spread the love right back to you. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. Let's dive back in.
But that's why I think case studies are so powerful, is because they not only show the results, the number, the money made, the time saved, but they also talk about that entire process. So if you can like really hone in on what you did and how you did it, and again, from the customer's point of view, it helps you demonstrate, that ROI. So I think, people like brand or website designers, where it's something that's really foundational to a business and there may not be a quick ROI, but it's there. People like ad specialists or SEO people. Those are also some of those like industries. I think sometimes we can be a little bit skeptical of like, do you really get good results? It seems like I'm paying you a lot of money for this like hocus pocus. I don't really know how it works. And I think, again, that's another industry where case studies can really demonstrate not only your skill sets, but also just that entire process and how you get the results for your customers.
Yeah. Oh, I do love that for sure. And honestly, too, like the way that you're explaining case studies, it almost makes me, I have a few one-on-one coaching clients who are product-based businesses. And even for them, I'm like, try to tell your customer's story. Like, don't say, oh, I like love this shop or that product or anything like that. Like, try to think about what will your customers use this for? How is this improving their life? And tell that story. But you could almost do similar case studies with a product-based business as well, where you're just interviewing someone and asking them, how did this improve your life and all that stuff. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm kind of a word nerd. I enjoy writing and all of those things. And I'm so just always interested in other people's copywriting processes and stuff. So I'd love to hear just any like tips that you have in general for writing copy, and then maybe, specifically captions for social media or something like that.
I think that two things that I found that are really helpful for me. Actually, no, I just thought of a bunch more.
A lot of them.
Well, one specific tip I'd love to share is that I was writing my own website. I was redoing my website over the summer, and it is so hard to write about yourself. Like I do this for other people all the time, but it doesn't matter who you are. It is hard to write about yourself and your own business. Yeah. So one of the things that I did to help make that writing process easier and like stop the blank page syndrome is that I actually used voice to text in a Google Doc and talked out loud my ideas onto the page. Because I think part of the struggle when you're writing about yourself is you just feel like too close to the topic. It's hard to like pick through all the ideas and like figure out what's the most important thing to share here. And so when I used the voice to text and I could see my words on the page looking back at me, it was easier to kind of sort through them and figure out, okay, this is what I want to say. These are the key points here.
Yeah, I love that tip because I haven't tried that yet, but I've heard that before. And I do feel like I feel that exact same way, lady. I'm like, can go into my clients' captions and revise them and give them tips all day. But then when it comes to writing my own website or writing my own stuff, a lot of times I'm like, what am I doing? And so I definitely need to try that technique for sure.
And I think that's the hardest part of writing sometimes is just knowing where to start. Like, even if I start in the middle and like write like the middle of my caption or, whatever first, it's always harder to go back and write the introduction, to write that hook and stuff. And so one thing that I've done that's been really helpful is start, in the industry, we call it a swipe file, but just basically examples that you can go back to so that you're not starting from scratch, that you have this like inspiration in front of you. And so sometimes that means I'm on, scrolling Instagram at night and I'm like, oh, this is a really cool post. I like how they worded it. Or I like how they designed the graphic. And I'll just take a screenshot and then either upload it to like Evernote or Google Photos or something. I have a couple different places I save them, but that's been really good for me, just having some place to start and find that fresh ideas. Because otherwise I'm just going to sit there spinning my wheels and, typing and retyping and not getting anywhere.
Yeah, no. And I love that tip as well, because exactly, I do the same thing. It's like looking all around you for inspiration, and I think the first step is becoming aware of it, right? So many of us are just always scrolling the platform. And maybe we even have that thought like, oh, I think this is a cool one, or I think that's a cool one. But then we forget about it immediately. So it's like becoming aware. I teach this in content creation as well. It's like if throughout your day something interesting happens to you, or you just have a moment where you're like, oh, I have a thought about this, or something pops up where you could take a photo of it or something. It's just that awareness to start of, oh, okay, I'm kind of on the lookout throughout my day for ideas. And if something comes to me, then take a snapshot of it, and save it for later to post. So I do love that tip for sure. Do you have any other favorite copywriting tips? I love all of them.
I think at the end of the day, my favorite tip is just customer research. And one thing that I've done when I've been collecting customer research is I have a spreadsheet where, I'll go back through interview transcripts. I'll look at testimonials, not only my clients' testimonials, but testimonials on their competitors' websites, and look for those like sticky phrases, like those really fun, like things like holy guacamole. Like that's one that I love that I've seen a few times. Or, just looking for like where people are expressing like their pains or their struggles or whatever. And then I organize those little sentences, those little phrases into a spreadsheet. Because again, blank page syndrome is going to hit you when you sit down to like write a social media caption or write a website or whatever it is. But when you have, not only you have your customers' research, but you have it in a document that you can refer to really easily. Again, it makes it so easy to write that caption and to weave in your customer's own language and start to reflect it back to them again.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, a lot of times people feel like they can't really say the same thing again and again. And I'd love to know how you feel about that.
That has been a struggle of mine lately because I have really felt that way. And I think I listened to one of your podcast episodes a few weeks ago, and I can't remember which one it was, but one of your guests was talking about that, or maybe it was even you. And it was so helpful for me because I'm afraid of being repetitive, but my coach told me recently, like, if you think you're saying it too much, you're probably saying it about the right amount of times.
Yes. Okay, exactly. And like these catchphrases that you can be recognized for, even like holy guacamole and whatnot, it's like, I think that the more you can say things again and again, the more recognizable you are, the more like ultimately people trust you and whatnot. And I think that that's such a cool way to do that. And I love the spreadsheet thing so that you can like kind of keep track of the language that you're using, right? Because organization, that's what I struggle with, right? I'm a 7. I have all the popcorn of ideas all the time. And I'm like, okay, like too many things. How can I organize my thoughts and make them less overwhelming for sure?
Another small thing that I did, because again, I'm the same way. I have all these intentions of organizing my ideas for writing and the research that I do. And I added a bookmark on my laptop, like in the bookmarks bar. So it's like staring at me. I have like a bookmark too, where I save like my content ideas, like you're talking about earlier, like noticing throughout the day and just like having little stories and stuff. So all I have to do is just click that button that's staring at me from my bookmarks bar and just type it in there and then move on. And it's just out of my head, but I've got it saved for later. And like the same thing with customer research, having just that bookmark that's staring at you and it's really easy to access.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Like becoming aware of it firstly, and then making a habit out of it that you are just keeping track of these things. That was something that I had to deal with when I first started my business, is like the never ending to-do list and stuff. And so it's like, okay, I have this and this and this to do, but I need to write it down. I need to keep track of it or else I'm gonna forget about it, Mm-hmm. So take the 2 seconds, Kins, to write it down. And then, you can come back to it later. You won't forget about it. I'd love to talk to you just a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur yourself, and just what do you think your biggest struggle is as an entrepreneur, I guess, like that you've had to overcome?
I think my biggest struggle, well, 2 things. One is feeling overwhelmed. Like I don't do well when I'm like multitasking or I have too many things on my plate at once. Mm-hmm. I actually started my business in 2016 as a local brick and mortar marketing studio where I was serving people here in my local community, doing all different types of stuff, like, some social media management, writing ads, writing website copy, writing articles and case studies, doing some graphic design, doing some tech stuff, just kind of saying yes to everything. And I realized if I wanted to scale my business, I was going to have to transition to an agency business model. Mm-hmm. And I knew that wasn't going to be a good fit for me because I started noticing some symptoms of burnout. And I actually had gone through a really bad season of burnout at my last nonprofit job, where I was the acting director for 2 years. And that was just not my gifting. It was not my personality. Like I love to be behind the scenes, connecting with people, doing the creative work. I don't like being like, the face of the organization and having to make all those big decisions. So I knew that an agency model was just not going to be a good fit for me. So that was why I started investigating or like researching what would it look like for me to really hone in on copywriting, because it does give me so much joy. It is something I'm good at. And how can I transition to an online business and really set up my online business in a way that is going to give me a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility? Because the other challenge that I've had to overcome is I have a lot of chronic health issues. I have migraines and allergies and some other issues that are not fully diagnosed. And sometimes I wake up and my whole body just hurts and I just can't work, for a few hours or maybe at all. And so that's what's been so cool for me about having an online business now, is that I do have that flexibility to kind of go at my own pace and set my own schedule, while still like getting to serve people and like help other people be successful, which as a 2 gives me a lot of joy, but then also like using my strengths as a writer. And so it's just been such a great fit for me to have found this, this business model, to have an online writing business that just is so good. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that you brought up like, your chronic health issues and having to work through that and find your kind of normal. I actually, I don't know if you've connected with her yet. This woman, Nikita, she has a podcast called Crafted to Thrive. And yeah, she talks all about like chronic health issues and stuff like that. And it's something that isn't talked about enough, I think, because like, and also people who don't have those issues truly cannot understand unless we talk about them more.
And that's part of why I set up my business now, where I really do just offer 2 things. I do case studies and I do web copy, because it keeps me from being so overwhelmed and feeling like I'm just multitasking all the time. But it also just helps me like focus, because when I have that repeatable process, when I have things set up on autopilot, then if I do wake up and I'm not having a great day, I'm not dealing with blank page syndrome. I'm not dealing with like starting everything from scratch. Like I have the structure and the processes in place to support me when my body is just haywire.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I was talking about that with my mom the other day. I think like, I love being an entrepreneur. It truly does light me up and it's so much fun and it just energizes me creatively. But like, before this, I worked in the restaurant industry for years and I was like, it was just so nice, like going to work and like, yeah, maybe when you're at work, it's a shit show and everyone wants hot sauce and Bloody Marys and all the things. But like, then you can like leave, you can clock out and not think about it ever again. And I'm like, my brain hurts sometimes, you know? So like you saying that right now, niching down to only this stuff, it really resonated. And that's something that's part of my journey too. You know, I think that's kind of most new entrepreneurs' dreams is like, okay, I'm going to start this business and do it all. Or like, okay, I have to offer everything to everyone because I need clients kind of thing. But it really is so much better to kind of niche down so that you are good in this area, right? Mm-hmm. Do you ever struggle with that with any of your clients?
I think where I struggle with it, again, going back to the Enneagram as a 2, I just want to help everybody. I want to like please everybody. And so I have to like give myself those boundaries intentionally so that I don't overextend myself. But definitely like in the middle of a client conversation, I'm like, oh, we could do this, or we could try this, or we could try this. And then, yeah, I have to just kind of like step back and rein it in.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I know I have that trouble too. So I'm like, I could do we could do everything. And that's honestly sometimes where I find the joy with my one-on-one coaching clients. So I have an online course, then one-on-one coaching, and then monthly management. And so the monthly management clients are pretty set boundaries. I learned that the hard way, where it was like my first ever client. Like, I love her. She's amazing. But it was doing all the things at her beck and call all the time. And it was way too much. And so I have those set boundaries with my monthly management clients. But with those one-on-one coaching clients, I'm like, we can talk about everything. I could be your idea girl, you know? Oh man. Okay. Well, I would love to just chat with you a little bit about maybe your services. I'm always so intrigued by people, how they set up their services. Can you tell us just a little bit about what they look like and how does someone know when they should look for a case study person or a copywriter like you?
Yeah, I think that a lot of my clients are going through a growth stage in their business where they're wanting to scale. They're wanting to, maybe work with a different type of client, whether that's introducing a new service or, just kind of like moving up that dream client ladder. You know what I mean? It's like these people that maybe seem like, oh, I don't know if they would hire me. I don't even know if I have enough skills. I don't know if I have enough experience. Like, why would they want to hire me? And so that's one of the things that I offer. One of the benefits of case studies is that they do help you scale and attract different clients, because they position you as an expert. They show off your skill set, and because they are so deeply resonating, because they are that, just that really powerful storytelling, they help you get more people to say yes and book your services.
Yeah. And okay, this is kind of a specific question to my business, but I think we can, apply it to the listeners can apply it to their own stuff. So when it would come to like my business, for example, with kind of those 3 different offers, the course, the one-on-one coaching, and the monthly management, do you think if I were to start creating case studies, should I create like one specifically for each of those services, multiple for each of those services, or should I do kind of more general things, or how would you approach that?
Yeah, usually what I recommend is having at least 3 case studies because they allow you to show off like the different services that you offer. They also let you kind of highlight different maybe like character traits of your ideal clients, right? Because there's probably like with your audience, people who need the social media management, they probably have a little bit different, desires or pain points or whatever than someone who's coming to you for your course. And so like in your case, I would say, at least a minimum of 3 case studies since you have those 3 different services. But, especially if it's more of like a higher ticket offer or something that's more of like a considered purchase, like it's just enough that I have to like take some time and think about it before I sign up. Like that's where case studies are really powerful.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to me this summer when I hired my business coach. It was so interesting because I got on the sales call with her and like I kind of had a number in my head about what she was going to charge and like which of her like 3 services I needed. And as we started talking, she's like, I really think you need my signature offer and here's why. And I was just like, okay, how much is it? And she told me, and I was just like, that is 5 times more than I was expecting. Like, I don't even know where I'm going to get that money, but I knew that I needed to work with her. And so what I did that night is I went to her website and looked at her case studies. And I specifically was looking for other copywriters who she had helped, right? Because I wanted to see like, what kind of results did they get? what was the process like? Could I see myself in their shoes and getting those same kinds of results? And so I thought about it for like 24 hours, and then I just emailed her and I was just like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm scared. I have no idea like how I'm going to be able to make this money back in the next 6 months. Like, I know it's going to have a long-term payoff, but in the short term, it was terrifying. But I knew she was the person I wanted to work with because she had these really great transformation stories that showed how she had helped others who were similar to me. And so again, even though I'm the case study person and I don't know how they work, like they kind of got me too.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that example. And I've totally been there. It's so funny, but I know I've totally been on that sales call where it's like, the price doesn't matter anymore because I want to work with you. You know what I mean? And that's where case studies can be like so helpful and just like solidifying that decision for sure. Because also, whenever you're hiring a coach, usually I think that they are, 10 steps ahead of you or whatever it is, they're who you want to be. And so it's like amazing, like this dream goal, but you also need to hear those stories of the people who are where you are right now as well and how far they got. I love it. Okay. I'm like, I need to hire you right now. One question I kind of had is when it comes to case studies and telling people stories and stuff like that, do you ever run into the issue? Do you think that they could be overwhelming for people? Like you said, that case studies, these are the things that people will read all the way through with like 800 words and whatnot. But do you feel like sometimes the information can be so overwhelming that it almost like turns people away or something like that?
I think it can be. And just off the top of my head, I can come up with like 2 different circumstances where that would be true, where the case study would feel overwhelming. Yeah. One is that if it's overly focused on the facts and the data, you know what I mean? Like those things are important, but they're like the cherry on top. You know what I mean? Like they're not like this big pie, this big cake. Like they're just like little sprinkles. So I think as long as you're focusing on the story aspect of it and using the data and the facts sparingly, it won't be too overwhelming. And I think the other place where case studies could feel overwhelming is in the visual part of it, in the graphic design, right? Because if you're just looking at like a long Word doc and that's all you're seeing, then you're probably not going to want to read the whole thing. So that's actually one of the things that I do for my clients is I offer, copy wireframes, which are kind of like a blueprint for a house. You know what I mean? It kind of shows like some ideas for how to lay things out and where they should be on the page. Because I think as much as you can like include visual elements, you make those quotes a big, bold color so they stand out. You add a photo of the person that you're interviewing. You add a sidebar, just like some little visual elements to kind of give the eye a place to rest so that you do want to keep reading the story. And I love also like with quotes in particular, making them like a bright pop color and like a bigger font, because then it like draws the eye in. And especially if you do that with like one of the like most meaty, like powerful, compelling quotes, then the person's going to like read that first and they're going to go, wow, this is so great. And then go back and keep reading the rest of it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man. Okay. I'm really glad I asked that question and I love your answer because it's so true. And also I do this in social media captions even too. I will bold the main points of the caption throughout the story because we do tend to skim, right? So it could be the best written story ever. And people are still like, our attention spans are so minimal. People are still just going to be skimming and stuff. So really adding those elements of the quotes that are maybe bigger, bolder graphics or bolding the first line of a sentence or something like that. Oh, that's such a great tip. Oh man, lady. Okay. Well, I'm over here like, how much do you charge? Like, come help me. Because I love the wireframing too. And I'm glad that you brought that up and gave that example because I think that a lot of times when people are like, I want to hire a copywriter, but they think that they're just going to be delivered this big bold, like this big paragraph of text or something like that. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Do you help people kind of manage their websites or what does that look like then when you're applying your case studies into different areas?
Yeah, so I don't do any of the design stuff, but I do offer a design consult as part of my services, right? Okay. Because there's been so many different times when I've worked with web designers in particular, because I've done a lot of web copy, where there's a little bit of like confusion about, should this be a big headline? Should this be a small headline? Like, where should this go? And it's so important, like you said, the presentation of the text matters because it helps people comprehend the information. It keeps them from feeling so overwhelmed. It directs their eye to the things on the page that are really important, that you want to highlight, that you want them to notice. And so, yeah, that's why I do those two things. Like I mentioned, I do like a wireframe, whether it's for case studies or web copy, both, to kind of translate what's in my head into the designer's head so that they can see what I'm envisioning as I write the words. And then I also do that 1 hour creative consult too, just again, to make sure that the ideas are getting translated properly, because it can really impact conversions too. Like if it isn't set up properly, then people are just going to bounce from the page. They're not going to scroll through and read the whole thing.
Oh, I love that. I know. Okay. Well, I love that. I've never honestly worked with a copywriter yet. I kind of want to hire a copywriter, but I'm like, in that first year and a half of business, trying to figure out, okay, who do I need to delegate to? So that's the question I had. I'm sure other people have as well, is just kind of like, what does working with someone look like? And so thank you for going into that. Could you please let everyone know where they can connect with you and maybe about the freebie too that you have as well? Because that's super awesome.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram at Melissa Harstine Creative. I love just building relationships with people and networking. And so you can always connect with me there and just start up a conversation because it'll be super fun. And then the freebie that I have for your listeners, I know that you guys are like spending so much time trying to build up your social media presence and drive traffic to your website and, book more of those dream clients. And it may seem like testimonials are like a really, really small thing, but I've really seen how powerful testimonials can be when it comes to like taking a prospective client from like, maybe I might want to do this to like, oh my gosh, yes, you are the person I need. You are the person I want to work with. Like, how can we work together? Sign me up. So what I want to offer to your audience is I'm going to give away 5 website review videos where I'll go in and look at your testimonials on your website and look at both the design aspects, like we talked about, to make sure that they are formatted properly and that they're on the right place, on the right page to like really grab people's attention. And also look at the actual wording or language of those testimonials to make sure that they're speaking to your ideal client and that they're, they're accomplishing the things that you want. So people can go to melissaharstine.com/feelgoodsocial. And like I said, I'm giving away 5 of those review videos just for your audience.
Oh man, that is so amazing. And thank you so much. And that's definitely going to be linked in the show notes below as well. So go click on that. I'm like excited. You should like send me a list of people who sign up. We'll see, guys. We'll see who it is. But thank you so much for chatting with us. I've just like been gobbling up all the information that you've been giving us. And I'm so glad we got to connect, lady.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. You're just like have so much joy and energy. And like you said, just a lot of fun.
How wonderful was Melissa, you guys? I just absolutely enjoyed our conversation so much. I was a little bit like processing throughout the entire thing. I don't know if you could tell, but I just was getting so excited about her ideas for creating case studies that actually convert. So make sure you connect with Melissa on Instagram. And hey, don't forget to share this episode to your Instagram stories, my friend. Make sure that you tag me at Feel Good Social and Melissa at Melissa Harstine Creative, because if you don't, we won't be able to see it. And we want to see it, reshare it, and spread the love right back to you, my friend. I hope that you have a wonderful week, a wonderful holiday weekend. Don't forget to shop local for your holiday shopping. Support small businesses this holiday season. We all truly, truly need it this year. And there will be a lot of sales happening this weekend. I know this, we all know this, but the big box stores are really loud. They have all of the ad spend, all the budgets. So please don't forget to check in with your favorite local businesses. We all just need to support each other through this time. And if you can shop local as much as possible for your holiday spending this year, I really hope you do that. All right, my friend, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.